In October 2021, investigators wading through a Florida swamp recovered a waterlogged notebook belonging to Brian Laundrie. Inside, smeared across the pages, was a confession. Laundrie claimed he ended the life of his fiancée, Gabby Petito, writing, "I thought it was merciful." Just months earlier, millions of followers knew Brian and Gabby through a very different lens. They were projecting a picture-perfect, sun-drenched #van life aesthetic on social media. Two young travelers living the ultimate nomadic dream as they drove across the American West. That illusion shattered in late summer 2021. Gabby vanished. When Brian returned to Florida alone, the internet exploded into a massive, frantic manhunt to find the missing 22-year-old. When the notebook was finally found, it contained a highly specific narrative. Brian wrote that Gabby had fallen and severely injured herself in the wilderness. He claimed he killed her out of love, strictly to put an end to her suffering. But does the physical evidence back up a tragic accident? Or does the forensic reality reveal a highly calculated manipulation designed to cover up a brutal domestic murder? The cracks in their relationship were actually documented weeks before the murder. On August 12th, police in Moab, Utah pulled over the couple's Ford Transit van after an eyewitness called 911 to report seeing Brian repeatedly slapping Gabby. The police body cam footage shows a deeply distressed young woman. Gabby is crying, hyperventilating, and frantically taking the blame for the physical altercation. She tells the officers she was apologizing, attributing the fight to her own severe obsessive-compulsive disorder. Brian, meanwhile, appears relaxed. He jokes with the officers and speaks in a calm, hyper-rational tone. He actively manipulates the narrative, framing himself as the patient victim who was simply trying to create physical distance from Gabby to manage her anxiety. The officers missed the classic signs of coercive control. They opted to bypass their department's lethality assessment protocol, a specific questionnaire designed to flag individuals in life-threatening, high-risk domestic violence situations. Instead of conducting a deeper investigation or filing charges against Laundrie, the police decided to simply separate the couple. They placed Brian in a hotel for the night and left Gabby alone in the van. By treating a domestic assault as a simple mental health crisis, law enforcement inadvertently validated Brian's manipulation. He walked away from the encounter entirely empowered, leaving him free to strike again. Fast forward to September 19th. Search teams sweeping a remote, dispersed camping area in Wyoming's Bridger-Teton National Forest make a grim discovery. They find Gabby's remains. Teton County Coroner Dr. Brent Blue evaluated the scene and determined that Gabby's body had been left exposed to the wilderness elements for 3 to 4 weeks. The autopsy results were definitive. The official cause of death was homicide, caused by blunt force injuries to the head and neck, alongside manual strangulation. Manual strangulation is a terrifyingly violent, intimate act that requires sustained physical effort and time. It stands in direct, complete contradiction to Brian's written claim of a quick, merciful act to end the pain of a fall. This diagram shows the gap between Gabby's estimated date of death and Brian's subsequent activity. He stole Gabby's debit card to fund his drive back to Florida and sent fake text messages from her phone to convince her parents she was still alive. After returning home, Brian vanished into a Florida swamp. A month later, investigators found his skeletal remains alongside a revolver and his notebook in the Carlton Reserve. The medical evidence of manual strangulation exposes Brian's notebook as a final, calculated attempt to control the story of the murder from beyond the grave. Gabby's family refused to let the case end with Brian's suicide. Stepping into the public eye, they began demanding justice and systemic reform to address the police failures that led to their daughter's death. They filed a $50 million wrongful death lawsuit against the Moab Police Department. Their core argument was that the body cam footage showed clear, life-threatening red flags that the officers critically failed to recognize. They also pursued a civil lawsuit against Brian's parents, alleging the Laundrie family knew exactly how Gabby died and deliberately withheld the truth while the frantic search was ongoing. That case eventually resulted in a confidential settlement. All of this played out within an overwhelming media fixation. Amateur internet sleuths treated the investigation like a true crime puzzle, generating billions of views analyzing every photograph, video clip, and police scanner dispatch. This intense public interest prompted sociologists and journalists to examine missing white woman syndrome, asking what the national obsession with this specific demographic reveals about our deep-seated societal biases. In the same Wyoming wilderness where the world searched for Gabby, dozens of indigenous women had vanished over the previous decade. Most of these cases received only a fraction of the media coverage or police resources devoted to Petito. The reality of what happened to Gabby Petito stripped away the aesthetic of the #vanlife trend, exposing the lethal nature of intimate partner violence hidden behind a screen. Her case remains a catalyst for change, pushing both law enforcement and the public to take psychological warning signs seriously.